now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, I was down at Booty's place about a few weeks ago. I stopped there a couple times a week for lunch, and my wife and I'll have dinner there on a weekend sometimes. And Booty pulled me over and said to me, this is Booty Beltrami, he says, Sammy, I want to talk to you about something. And he showed me a poem that a young girl wrote, and she has Down syndrome. And he felt that it was an excellent opportunity for us to learn about what this little girl and her family have been going through. And she's not really a little girl. When you see her, I'm not going to tell your age until she's on the set, as to bringing awareness to Down syndrome. And so now we're going to start our show off with the man himself, Booty Beltrami. Booty, how are you?
I'm good, Sam. How are you today?
Good. You know, you never get old, Booty. You know that. You're staying the same.
I never get old?
Yeah.
Well, I have a secret pill. I'm not going to let you in on it.
You know, you can make millions on that pill.
Yeah, I know.
No, God bless you. You look fabulous.
Millions I don't want. I want health.
That's it. Booty, like I said, you saw me and you said, Sammy, I want to show you something. Give us a little background on how this happened.
Well, you know, Catherine comes into a restaurant with her family, and they usually come like on a Saturday night. And for somehow or another, I'm like attracted to her because I see her, I see the way she talks and she walks, and she's perfectly normal as far as I'm concerned. She has a way about her that you really have to love her. You could sit and talk with her, and she'll make your day. She'll really, truly make your day. So one day, during one of the visits, she asked me if I would be interested in reading some of her poems, and I said, absolutely. So next week, comes into the restaurant with her poems, and I go home and I take my neighborly time and I start reading these poems. Well, I read maybe 2 or 3 of these poems, and the tears actually were coming down my eyes. In fact, I get choked up just now just talking about it. And I became very impressed with her talent. And knowing that I have a nephew, 2 nephews with Down syndrome, and I also have a niece with Down syndrome. And I say, geez, I read about this, I read about everything else. I don't hear too much about Down syndrome. And that's the reason why I came to you and I said, is there a way that we could have a show and have Catherine, her mother, come here and let the public all over the state of Pennsylvania, locally all over, really learn about Down syndrome. It's something that I feel should be brought out into the open, and that's the reason why I'm here today on the show.
All right, well, folks, with that being said, we're going to go to break. I know it's a short break, but and then we're going to bring Catherine and Nola. Now, you're in for a surprise, folks. You're in for a major surprise, and Booty is correct. Sometimes we look at it as a disability. They don't look at it as a disability, okay? Stay with us. We'll be back with Catherine and Nola right after the break. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante, and remember, 24/7, SSPTV.com, and thank you so much, folks, for over 2 million hits on our website. Remember, every one of our shows are on the website that we produce. The 21 shows we produce at SSPTV.com. You can watch any of the Sam Lesante shows. Now, folks, my show today, if you just tuned in, it's about growing up with Down syndrome. We opened the show with Booty Beltrami, and Booty is the person that said to me, Sam, we should really have a show on this to just explain what growing up with Down syndrome is all about. And my guest today, Catherine Riley, and her mom, Nola. First of all, thanks for coming on the show. I think it's very nice of you to do that.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to be here.
Catherine, now I want to tell folks, if you don't mind, how old you are, okay? Tell them how old you are.
I'm actually 37 years old.
37 years old.
Yes.
God bless you. You look like you're about 15 or 16. And Nola, of course, knowing you and your husband many years, it's interesting. Well, anyway, Nola, as a mom, okay, you were talking about, you travel around different places, your daughter, and Catherine, okay, Molly, about, Down syndrome. And what basically do you do when you travel around these places?
Well, we speak to different groups. We've spoken to parents, we've spoken to family members, we've spoken to occupational therapists, we've spoken at school districts, different community organizations, etc., about growing up with Down syndrome. And we do it from 3 different viewpoints. We do it from the viewpoint of the parent, myself, from Molly, the siblings' viewpoint, and from Catherine herself, the viewpoint of the person who has the Down syndrome. And we talk about all realistically, it's called realistically speaking. We do it realistically. So we tell the good, the bad, and we tell the encouraging part about it.
And what's your part? Well, as the mother, what do you tell them?
I tell them, first of all, that I was not prepared for this, as many parents are, and that when I was informed, I was not done in a very positive way. When we asked why they thought Catherine had Down syndrome, the obstetrician told me that because they were so ugly at birth, which was the most devastating news I've ever heard. And my husband's reaction, as you can imagine as a father, was not very positive. And from then, Dr. Martiak was our pediatrician, and he gave me the best advice. He said, Nola, he said, treat her normally and she'll surprise you. And she certainly has, because we were not sure at that particular point in time what lay ahead of us. They said, we can't tell you at that point whether she could walk, talk, et cetera, but you know, we always live by the philosophy of what is, and let's get on with life. And Catherine, that's her philosophy. And we also live with the idea that you accept things, and once I did accept the fact, then I went into action, and I received help from Luzerne Intermediate Unit. They had the early intervention program, which was brand new, and they came to the house and they did different things with us, infant stim, and we went to Easter Seal. And Catherine was in Easter Seal from then until she went into preschool, and we received tremendous help, and also from their parent organization. And then she entered the school district, and she did well. She went through Hazleton School District until she graduated.
Well, once you accepted it, then you really didn't feel that there was any disability here. This was a normal child that you were raising?
Well, I had 3 children, all under the age of 3. My oldest was 3 when Catherine was born, and Molly was smack dab in the middle. So I always say God knew what he was doing when he gave me Catherine. And I really didn't have time to feel sorry for myself or to feel sorry for Catherine. And she, as well as my other children, they just lived what we considered to be a normal life. The only thing that was different was the fact that Catherine had to be taught to do certain things. And our kids were small enough that everything was a game. And Catherine was very lucky because our neighborhood children just accepted Catherine. There was no problem with the fact that she had a disability. They just thought Catherine was, as Molly always said, she's just my sister. And I think it paid off fabulously for all of us.
Catherine,
Yes.
being such a beautiful girl that you are, and we're looking at growing up with Down syndrome. Okay, what do you tell these people when you're traveling around and talking with your mom and your sister?
I usually tell them that growing up with Down syndrome is like being who you are. If you're normal, you're normal. If you have a disability, you have a disability. But I actually tell them that they need to look past the Down syndrome part and see that you have a normal kid, who have like little problems and they need help. But, it's like growing up with Down syndrome, you need to help them. So that's why my mom pushed me a little bit. Like, she got me, to keep on going. I learned how to move my head up straight or get myself, straight up and learn how to walk. So that's how I kind of learned how to do all of that. It took me some time, but...
Being 37, and as people will tell you, you're very, very intelligent, very smart. I don't see disabilities in any Down syndrome child. I know many of them, and I'll tell you, they are very smart. Okay, what were some of the challenges that you faced, Catherine, that you faced having a Down syndrome?
Well, I think some challenges that I have faced over the years growing up was some kids look at me differently because I'm not like a normal kid. And that didn't really bother me that much, but it did a little bit. I thought, okay, keep going. But other than that, I did face some other challenges. Like in school, I have problems with like math Not my favorite subject, but I learned it. I have no problem with it. But usually I'm going to go somewhere with my parents or Molly or my brother John. I go out and I need some time to count out some money with them. And they help me a lot when they do that, when they're with me.
Now, being as intelligent you are,
Yeah.
you certainly understand what Down syndrome is all about.
I do.
Okay. And what was your, what did you look for in your life for your strength?
For strength. I think what you're trying to say is I think I learned a lot. Like I learned how to write. And that's how when I started writing, I was 11 years old. And that poem that I wrote was my very first one that I ever wrote that you have on your desk. And I kept on writing, and I get part of my strength. I work out, and it took some time to get all of that. Like I grew up being a little bit big, and it took me a long time to lose all that weight, and I did.
In your challenges that you faced, okay?
Yeah.
You mentioned some of the challenges with your peers, some of the students, okay? Now you're 37 years old, okay, and you've developed as a beautiful girl. You also are a part-time aide in the Hazleton School District.
That's right, Mr. Lesante.
How did that evolve?
I think after I graduated high school, I got a job right away. Someone asked me to get involved with the district, and I did. I worked with Mr. Paul Noble at the time, and he gave me this new opportunity to work at Heights Terrace Elementary Middle School, and I got a job right there. Everything was back, was it 1996, I think, or 97, I don't know what year it was, and I've been there ever since, and I love my job. The kids are great. The teachers are so friendly, very nice to me. They always ask me, if they want something, I'll do it for them, and we just interact together.
Nola, as a mom, okay, now she's developed beautifully, and I'm, you and husband are very proud. What were some of the things, because there are people probably who have children who have Down syndrome, and maybe they're only 2, 3, or 1.
Correct.
And what advice do you have for those parents, okay, that now that their children are growing up, what do you tell them?
Well, first of all, my husband always says when we speak, my quote is, if everyone had a little bit of Down syndrome in them, it would be a wonderful, wonderful world.
Why do you say that?
The reason being that Catherine accepts people for what they are, okay? It doesn't make any difference what you look like. And Catherine's also very, very positive about everything. And this is infectious. I have 2 other children, and sometimes when things weren't going right and so on and so forth, or things were challenging, my husband would always say to them, don't complain. You have no reason to complain. Look at what Catherine can do with what God has given to her. And I think it's been a motivating factor for all of us. And, Catherine talks about what was the motivating factor in our lives, and we're very religious. And, when something happens that you think is devastating 37 years ago, and you discover now it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to you, you have nobody to thank except God.
Yeah.
And, God, with God in your corner, anything can happen. And, I really, at that particular point in time, didn't know what to do because I didn't know anything about what I was facing. And I basically said, God, I need you. I'm going to give Catherine to you. And a few years later, I said, you know what? I'm giving both the 3 of my kids to you. And, they've all been successful and they're all wonderful. And I attribute everything to God. And Catherine is very religious as well. She's very active in the church, and she'll tell you about that.
Tell me about that.
I will. I'm very involved with my church, actually.
What church is that, Catherine?
It's called All Saints Parish in Mackinac, Pennsylvania. I'm a Eucharist minister, and I help out with our priest to give out Holy Communion.
Mm-hmm. So, Catherine, you're 37 years old.
Yes.
Okay, and I applaud. If this show is being shown in California, unfortunately, they probably would bleep out the word God. because it seems, and maybe I'm being a little critical here, but because Ned Doherty's there in California, he's doing a great job, and how people are trying to take that away from you. Could you imagine if they take that out of the system, out of, whatever God it doesn't have to be Catholic, etc.
Right.
So you feel your religion was a very strong part of your growing up and developing.
It was very strong to me, honestly. My mother taught me how a lot about believing in myself, having faith in yourself. And I agree about that, about faith. I mean, if there was no faith and no God, they wouldn't have me. And that's the truth, because she's the best. And it's an amazing thing to talk about, with my parents, Aunt Molly and John. They don't see the Down syndrome in me. They see me personally.
They see a sister. Okay. And and that's the thing that, what we're looking at is you're looking at a person, and I really applaud you, Catherine, for coming on, and Nola coming on, telling a story, and I got to hand it to Booty to try to let people understand if you have a child who has Down syndrome, there's other disabilities, any disability, working with them, okay? And you know what, Catherine, you know what I love about you, and your mother stated it, you're positive. Oh. Man, people today, when they get up in the morning, they're negative until they go to bed, and they don't appreciate what life is all about. And Down syndrome, I know a few of them. There's one girl, I can't think of her, who used to work at Walmart, and was a greeter. I can't think of her name. Oh, she's going to get mad at me.
Heather Miller.
Heather, beautiful girl, beautiful person. Always a hug, always positive. It was raining, snow, she's always positive. And this is a lesson, that you show. And that's why God has people like you on this world, okay,
right,
to send that message. Wouldn't you feel that way, Nola?
Oh, definitely. And the whole idea of it is that, the life that sometimes people will look and you can see the pity, And what they don't realize is that Catherine has a very, very full life. I mean, she'll tell you, she has friends, she socializes, she has a wonderful job, she's a reader, she's a writer, she has that talent. And people will question me sometimes when Catherine reads her poems, did she write it herself? And I always say, she did, because I'm an English teacher. I was an English teacher for 35 years, but I am not a poet. I don't have that gift for poetry. And what I'll do is I'll correct her English the same way I'd correct anybody else, but she does it herself.
Well, that being said, Catherine, you have a poem here that you wrote, your very first poem, okay? So why don't we if you could pick it up, okay?
Sure.
And what I'd like for you to do is this is your camera right there, camera one.
Okay.
Right, you see camera one?
Yeah, thanks, service tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, what I want you to do is, I want our viewers to see how God gave you such a talent, okay? And here's your poem. It's called My Dream. So go ahead, Catherine, read it.
I will. Sometimes I feel that I am different, but I'm not different. I'm a person who has feelings and dreams. I've always wondered why people talk about me or call me names. I just wish that they could see me for who I am and treat me as normal as every other human being on this earth. Then we could be friends. Just give me a chance to tell you how I feel. Having Down syndrome is a part of me that will never go away. Yes, I am part handicapped, but I am normal, just like you. I have wishes and dreams, and most of all, I am a person who has a full life. I can dance and I can write. I have creativity and everything that I need in life. God made me who I am, and you who you are. Sometimes different shapes and sizes and even colors. Instead of judging me for what I have, take a good look at yourself and then at me. Only then will you see the real person inside of me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. As you see, folks, as we get up and you think you have challenges, here's a beautiful person who has a positive tip in life, very normal, and sends a message to all of us, no matter what age we are. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. These are the kind of shows I love to have, folks. We're able to talk about uplifting things and bring positive things to everybody. Yes, I know we have challenges, and we talk about the not negative, but we have to address some things that are concerning to us. But when you have a person who I have on my show, Catherine Riley, who has Down syndrome and 37 years old, who's bring inspiration to a lot of people, who has a positive attitude in life, even though we all have challenges, boy, I wish there were millions like Catherine. Right, Catherine? I really wish you have a beautiful attitude. Booty Beltrami is joining me again, and Booty is responsible for this show, and I appreciate that, Booty. What a great show this is. As you heard, Booty, you know, her mom talk and Catherine talk, but there's one thing that I want to address. And, you know, when people are uneducated and they don't know something, they can become terrible things, like this bullying thing that happened in the school district. And sometimes people will say, you know, she's a retard, okay? And that word retard it just stabs me in the stomach when I hear that. How do you react, and what are we doing about that?
Well, I was actually bullied with that myself when I was in high school. Actually, that's how it started. And I couldn't take it, so I just left, you know? I didn't want to take another step forward, but I left. And then I'm teaching kids that besides saying that word, you just stomp it out. Like, you don't need to say that our word. It's hurt a lot of people, including myself. It's very offensive, and I think, honestly, the whole world should know about that word because that is really important. There's a lot of people out there that have the same exact disability or other disabilities. I mean, why are you hurting us? We didn't hurt you. Let us go. Just be our friend. That's it. If you don't, you're done.
And you know the strong thing about this, Catherine, is that you were able to listen to those people who had no respect whatsoever, and you were able to continue on. It didn't deter you. It did not make you hurt. There's no question about it, because no one likes to be told negative things.
Right.
But here again, what a beautiful message you send about being so positive after someone would say something. It's like being a black or a Chinese or Italian. We were called guineas. We were called wops as Italians, okay? And, you know, they're just hurtful words, okay? When people lower themselves. But there, you were able to do in high school and bring such a beautiful message.
I agree. You know, there is a website about that, too, about the R word.
Is that right?
It's www.r-word.com. You can go to that website. There's a whole little things you can watch online about and see what really hurts the most.
What would you like to see? How would you like to see people reacting, you know, with people who have disabilities? What message would you tell all the adults, all the young people, anyone who is watching this show? A 37-year-old girl like you who grew up and is still doing great things.
I think I would tell them that, young and old, that treat them as normal. Like my parents, like you see my parents with me, they're exactly what they're doing. Give them a little nudge, let them see that they can do this on their own, but like a little nudge, and you can see and conquer the world. Because I became, like my mother, I became a part-time teacher aide in the school district. She was a 35 retired teacher, and that's who I am today, but not a teacher, part-time aide.
Well, you're a beautiful person, Catherine. Okay,
Thank you.
And I'm so happy, Booty, that you brought her on the show.
Sam, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. The thing is that there are so many people out there, okay, that have children, and your mother and your father, I mean your mother and your sister and your dad, go around and bring that up, and just to be able to expose you and how receptive you are coming on television. You know, I'm honored to have you on the show. Really, it's an honor. But I think you're really going to do some great things for people, just so people can respect no matter what disability, right?
I agree with you.
Yeah. And you're pretty smart, I'll tell you.
I'm a little smart, you know. I'm technical and.
You're computer savvy, pretty good.
I'm okay with the computer for a little bit. The TV set and the microwave, you know.
So you just fall in at home, like, you know, no one treats you anything special?
Oh, no.
So
No.
Dad and Mommy, when you do something wrong, you're told about it?
Of course, I'm told about it.
You're no special little angel?
No little,
Well, you're a special angel, but I mean as far as, you know, they're not favoring you over your...
That's what I always thought, but no, they never special on me or like me in a different way. They treated me like Molly and like John.
Yeah. Well, Catherine, I wish you'd been, so once again, thanks for coming on the show. And Booty, thanks for, you know, having her come on the show.
My pleasure,
It was
sir.
very nice, okay. Folks, growing up with Down syndrome, we see some people who, as Catherine said, we have a tendency of hurting people, and using that word, that R word, which is retard, it just hurts you so much. You know, for those parents of you or guardians who are taking care of children who have people who have disabilities, you know what I'm talking about. If we can bring an awareness to this, and this is what Booty Beltrami wanted us to do with this show, is bring an awareness to what's happening. And here's a beautiful girl. You heard the poem, and it's great. And I know what's going to happen, folks. I told Catherine my wife's going to want to have her on the girls. But I didn't tell my wife I was having her on the show, because the first thing she would have said, we got to get her on the girls, okay? And thank you so much for supporting the show as much as the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, SSPTV.com. You can watch this show anywhere in the world. So if you have people or friends living anywhere in the United States or in the world who have a disability, tune the show in, and hopefully they'll learn something from it. Thank you. We'll see you next time.